collateralize it with. So I started looking at real estate investing, and I was like, oh, you can get money for these deals, or you can do deals like wholesaling with none of your own money. You just need the knowledge.
Yep.
And that's why I got into real estate, because I didn't have a lot of money, but I acquired the knowledge, and now I was using other people's money and, finding deals and just putting them together. And, today I was talking to someone the other day. I said, you could take everything away from me and I'd be fine, because I know how to make money. I know how to start businesses. I know how to do that. So that's why I got into real estate.
Okay.
You're listening to the We.L.E.R.E. Real Estate Show, a podcast that discusses the intricacies of real estate investing with your host, Marcus E. Maloney. Marcus is a real estate investor best known for being the equity king. He's been awarded that moniker because he and his team find amazing real estate deals. He will be talking with investors who have done some transformational things in the real estate industry. They'll discuss their process, their strategies, and how their investments transform their lives and the communities they invest in. We welcome you to the We.L.E.R.E. Real Estate Show.
Hey family, it's Marcus Maloney again, and I want to welcome you to today's show. Today we'll be talking with Zach Oehlman. Zach is a local real estate investor here in the Phoenix metro area, and he has something especially important that I want to drive home to you guys today. We always talk about wholesaling, and we talk about, apartment syndication, things like that. Well, today we want to dig into subject to investing. Zach Oehlman has a great story he wants to share with everyone. And just to give you a little feedback about Zach has been investing over 7 years now. He has a group that's called the W.L.E.R.E Investment Club, where they team members and they partner together to do tons of deals here in the Phoenix market. So without further delay, I want to welcome you, Zach, to the show. And I know I didn't do your intro any good, but let's kind of rehash everything, man. Kind of introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Marcus. So my background, I grew up in a small farming town in Northwest Indiana, and I said, hey, I want to become rich. I want to have lots of money. And everyone said, well, go to school, right? So I took that route, graduated from Indiana University with a double degree in finance and business administration. And then 2008 happened, right when I graduated. Had various jobs as worked for a real estate investor, worked down at the Chicago Board of Trade as a commodity broker. And then I got a job as a valuation consultant, and I had no idea what it was, but it sounded fun. So what it is essentially if something can create cash flow, I can put a value to it. So I valued software, human capital, patents, public companies, private companies, just all types of different assets. And I loved it. But what I found was I was working 60 to 100 hours a week. And, I just didn't have that lifestyle I wanted. So I joined a local real estate investing group, and I've been full-time for probably 4 years. Okay. And I've done almost every type of real estate you can think of. I've done fix and flips, I've done wholesaling, I've done regular single-family rentals, multifamily rentals, multifamily flips, subject to lease options, contract for deeds, short-term rentals. And the way that I like to look at stuff is, give me a person with a problem around real estate, and then let me use all these different acquisition and disposition strategies to make it a deal. And gotcha. That's how I've been able to do so much, many different types of real estate, because I think the most people out there, they only know traditional wholesale, traditional fix and flip, traditional rentals. And, if it doesn't fit their mold, they pass. And if you have all these understanding of all these different strategies, you can almost make anything a deal. Yep. And that's what I just love doing.
So coming from the Midwest, man, I'm from the Midwest also. You were in Indiana, I was in Illinois, so we butted up right against each other. And I didn't know you worked at the W.L.E.R.E in Chicago, so you got some Chicago roots. So tell me, man, coming from a small Midwest, what drove you to get into real estate? What was your inspiration? Yes, I know you wanted to make some money and everything like that, but there's tons of other ways to make money. So why real estate?
Yeah, so I actually own properties in like South Holland,
I know the area very well.
Yeah, South Holland, Phoenix, Illinois, Posen, places like that. So I own a bunch of rental properties down there.
I grew up, well, I was born in Blue Island. So Blue
Oh,
Island
yeah.
is right by, all of that area right there. So we just closed the deal in West Pullman today, actually, just closed about an hour ago. So I know the area very well. So Chicago is definitely one of my stomping grounds. I virtual wholesale actually from here in Phoenix back home in Chicago.
That's awesome, man. Well, congrats on your deal, buddy.
Yeah.
So what got me into real estate was I knew that the people that had made lots of money and had sort of freedom around their time and their schedule and created a future, they were business owners and investors. That's what I saw. And I didn't know how to start a business. I had no idea how to make money. I graduated at the top of my class from Indiana University, but it didn't teach me how to make money. It taught me how to, learn and how to work for someone else. So I would go and I would try to start a business. I had no idea. And then I was like, well, why don't I just buy a business? Buy an existing business.
Okay.
I know how to value them. That's my background, right? I know how to value them. But then I didn't have any money. I didn't have enough money, and I didn't know how to raise capital. I didn't know how to have those conversations. The people I were talking to, they didn't want to lend to me because a business there's a lot of intangibles that if it goes wrong, there's nothing to collateralize it with. So I started looking at real estate investing, and I was like, oh, you can get money for these deals, or you can do deals like wholesaling with none of your own money. You just need the knowledge.
Yep.
And that's why I got into real estate, because I didn't have a lot of money, but I acquired the knowledge, and now I was using other people's money and, finding deals and just putting them together. And, today I was talking to someone the other day. They said, you could take everything away from me and I'd be fine because I know how to make money. I know how to start businesses. I know how to do that. So that's why I got into real estate.
Okay. Well, who was your inspiration? I know getting started, you probably saw somebody that was doing something, or maybe an infomercial or something like that. Well, who was your inspiration to really push you forward?
I went down. So I started in Chicago, Downers Grove area, and I got invited down to a local real estate investing group. And I saw a 22-year-old young man that was making $10,000 a month in residual income, and he was traveling. And I'm like, that is what I want to do.
Wow.
And, he had no college degree. He didn't go through the formal education. He had education, right? A real estate education. And, and I joined that same group. I took that same real estate investing education. And he just inspired me because I saw what he was able to create as a young man. And I was 27 at the time. And I said, hey, maybe I'm on the wrong path for what I want. And I just jumped over.
Okay. All right. Sweet. I mean, everybody have to have that. You got to have some kind of passion in real estate in order to do it and have some longevity, because it is sales, and not all the time, you can make a sale or close a deal, but tell me, because I know most real estate investors are cut from a different cloth, man. So tell me kind of, what was your first ever business transaction?
Inside of real estate?
No, outside of real estate, just first ever business transaction.
Oh, I had a car detailing business, and I would detail people's cars, and I would way undercharge. But it was it was some beer money, to go out for the weekend.
Yep.
I was in school and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that was my first business.
Okay. All right. So tell me, all right, let's kind of dig into your first real estate transaction, man, because just, before we got on, you were telling me about some amazing things that you're doing. So kind of share with me, what's that first transaction, real estate transaction? How did it occur? How did you find it? Where did you get the money from? Let's kind of walk through that for the listeners.
Yeah. So my first deal ever was in Sauk Village, Illinois.
Know that area also. My brother lives there. Still lives there.
Yeah. So I got, I was part of a local group of real estate investors, and I was a new guy, and we have these people with tons of experience. And I just really made friends with everyone I could. And there was this one guy, his name's Randy Pertler. And he's such an amazing guy. And I said, hey, I want to do a deal. And he just sort of took me under his wing, and he would give me assignments. He's like, hey, go do this, go do this. And I'd come back and I'd get it done. I'd come back and get it done. And I remember one day it was like, Zach, are you ready to close? And I'm like, like I'm getting all nervous, freaking out. And it was a $30,000 deal, right? And I've never owned a house before, so $30,000 is like, oh my gosh, my mentality was like, this is a lot of money, and I overanalyzed it, and I was freaking out. And we closed on it, and I remember sitting at the closing table, and I was so excited, and I walked out of there, and I felt like I just conquered the world. I was expecting like everything to stop and there to be, champagne and like fireworks when I walked
right.
I was like, do you know what I just did? I just closed my first real estate deal. And I was super excited. And then once I got through it, I was like, that was easy. Now that I know, right? Now that I've been through it, I was like, that was easy, but I had to go through it. And over the next 4 or 5 months, I had, I think 8 or 9 rentals.
Okay.
I'm just boom, boom, buying them up.
So that first one in Sauk Village, you closed on that one as a rental. So it wasn't a flip or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually bought it. So here we were flipping them to a hedge fund.
Okay.
So we would find them, fix them up, put a tenant in place, and then sell it to a hedge fund as a turnkey rental property. So I actually bought that to set it up as a rental and then sell it as a turnkey rental. So I purchased it with a credit card. I got a credit card. I bought it with a credit card, and it was awesome. And then, what happened? I was like, oh, I want to keep this, and I want to keep all these other ones. So I went and got a portfolio loan.
Gotcha.
And, refinanced them out and just kept them myself.
Well, I was laughing at you getting it, with the credit card, because everybody always throws up all of these roadblocks. I can't close on a deal. I can't find a deal. I don't have the money to get a deal, but you found a way. You said, hey, I don't have a lender. Let me get this credit card and put it on a credit card. I mean, I don't advise that because of the interest rates, but still you found a way to do it. And then you turned it over and refinanced it and put it in a portfolio with the portfolio lender. So how did you find that deal? Were you guys doing direct mail? Were you doing cold calling, door knocking? How did you guys find that deal there in Sauk Village?
Yeah, real quick before I talk about that those credit cards were actually 0%.
Okay, smart.
Because if you buy them at like 27%, whatever, I mean that can sort of
that'll eat your profits up quickly.
Yeah, so I'm glad we clarified that. I wouldn't want to buy on 27%. And here's the other thing, and this is what I've learned with experience is I make offers all the time right now, and I don't know how I'm going to fund them, right? But I know that they're a deal. And then I go find the money. And some people, when I first started, I just couldn't. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to make an offer if I don't have the money.
So how did you get over that hump? Because I know I talk to a lot of newbies, and that's one of the things, that's the major roadblock is I don't have any money. And, and you just said, hey, I don't have the money, but I know it's a deal. How can I make this work? How did that click in your brain to say, okay, I don't have the money, but I know I can find the money somehow because I know this is a deal? How did that psychological change happen?
Well, it went through that first one. That's why I funded it with my credit card. And the conversation I had with myself was, if I lose, it's my money, or it's my credit or my. I would feel I understand the process. I spent a lot of time educating myself, so I was prepared. I was just scared, but I was prepared. And then once I went through it, I was like, oh wow, this is easy. Relatively speaking.
Yep.
And then I started raising money from outside sources because I had the confidence in myself that I actually went through it. So what I would say, we run a group of, we have over 300 real estate investors in our local group. And that conversation that I don't have the money limits a lot of people. So what we say is, hey, just go find somebody to talk to and then bring it to somebody experienced in our group, and then let's partner on it. So you don't have to worry about having the money. Because you got a team of people in the background that'll help you take it down, and either give you a fee or partner on it. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways we can set those up.
And that's the power of networking and the
Right.
power of relationship building. Because if you try and go out there and be the lone wolf, because I was the lone wolf for a long time. Getting started, it was like, okay, my mind was just set on, what do I need to do in order to make this happen? But when you start partnering with people and getting out there and networking, you start saying, okay, well, I don't have the money here, but I know this person over here has money, but he don't have a deal. I have the deal and no money. Let's partner on this and get it done together. Both of us walk on ship, and now we can come back to the table and do another deal and more deals. So, I mean, that's one of the powers that I see in the Valley Investment Club, is that you kind of pull these people together, so you have their strength in numbers. So you're doing these deals. You have, how long ago was this, by the way?
My first deal?
Yeah.
Oh, 6.
Okay, so 5 or 6 years ago, not too long ago, and now you're running a club of over 300 people. And you made that transition from the spur that growth. I know you have these rentals and everything like that. What did you do in order to really spur that growth, just that first deal? Did you have a mentor? Did you have someone else that
Downers Grove that had like 300 to 500 people that met every Thursday. His contractor is closing. I've just, started growing the group, and then everything I need is already there, and I get deals coming to me every day.
Gotcha. So tell me, and we're going to get to Valley Investment Club, but let's talk about this subject to deal, that we were talking about, because, what you told me was an eye opener. So if you guys don't know what subject to investing is, Zach, kind of introduce us what subject to investing is.
Yeah. So subject to is an acquisition strategy. And it's become my favorite strategy. But essentially, at the top level is you're talking to somebody that has a mortgage in place and they own the property, and we need to understand there's a note, and a subject to is the note stays in the seller's name, the deed, the ownership goes into my name or my business's name. So. Gotcha. As soon as I say subject to, everyone's like, well, what about the due on sale clause?
Sale clause. Yeah.
Here's what I would say to that is there's ways to mitigate that. Is actually, I talked to a guy down in Texas. He will underwrite that for like $1,500. He will take all that risk on. And if they call it due, he moves his financing in place for the same rate that you have the underlying mortgage at.
Wow.
He does that because he's a very wealthy man, and he owns a title company. He said, we actually looked into this with our lawyers. And he says it's illegal for an FHA. FHAs is the hard ones to get done. He says it's illegal for them to foreclose if you're current, right, on that. And so there's a lot of these details that we could get into at a later date. But that's the quick thing. The debt stays in the seller's name. The ownership goes into your name. And what that allows you to do is that allows you to get a residential 30-year mortgage, in most cases 30-year mortgage, at a consumer rate. So I bought properties anywhere, the lowest I had was 2.5% interest rate.
Wow.
So I love that as the acquisition. And what it allows you to do is open up your exit strategies. So you could actually fix and flip it. And then if the market turns, you can turn it into a short-term rental, you turn it into a long-term rental. You could sell it, contract for deed. I've done that. I've done lease option as the exit strategy. So it opens up a lot of different exit strategies because you have low interest, long-term debt in place.
So how do you have that conversation with the seller? Because it can become integral, because I understand the due on sale clause. All of the years I've been doing this, almost 10 years, never seen the bank call a note because of the due on sale clause.
Right.
But some sellers, they're not as savvy as we are, so they don't know. They know, okay, well, this note is still in my name. What happens if you don't pay? What happens if this? What happens if that? They're always looking at the negative. So how do you present that as an offer?
Yeah, well, so I'm talking to people that are going to they're in pre-foreclosure.
Okay.
So,
so that would be the lead type. You're specifically looking at doing this with those who are in pre-foreclosure.
yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Right. So that's what I choose to do. And I do that is because there's a deadline called the auction.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't solve that problem before the auction, they're going to lose their house. And so I try to come in there and, first off, and I want to share this is if I can help them save the home, I'm going to do everything I can to help them save the home. Right. I don't want to put my self-interest above theirs. And that's one of the reasons I got into this, because I saw, I love helping people. So if I can help them save the home, I'm going to, and we've helped people save their homes. And we don't charge them anything. We see it as karma, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But let's say we can't. Let's say there's no way to save it. I make a couple offers. I said, hey, I can do this or I can do this. And subject to is one of them, because I can give them a little bit more money that way because we're keeping the financing in place. So I just explained to them, I say, hey, the debt's going to stay in your name. The ownership's going to go into my name. We're going to have it done through title, right? So have everything on the up and up. We're going to do it on a performance deed, which means if I miss so many payments, whatever it is, you get your house back. So I'm going to be putting money into this house. I'm going to be, depending on the case, I may give them some money. I've had a house where I just took it over, right?
Okay.
But I may give them some money if there's enough equity in it. And then I'm going to fix it up. And I tell them, if I'm fixing this up, I'm going to lose all that. And you could get it back if I don't make the payments. And then we set up the payments through a third-party servicing company so that they can see that. And I explained to them, that your credit is going to go where your credit's going to be positive now.
Yeah.
And then, the challenge is like, well, what if I want to get a new home? What if I want to refinance for a new home? We've had that happen before, and we just say, okay, hey, we're going to provide you the paperwork that shows them we're responsible for that debt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of things you said there real quick, Zach. One of the things that you were alluding to and that you said is that, presenting this offer, you're looking at people that are in pre-foreclosure. So they already have some sort of distress situation. So now when you guys are taking over that note, if they're in pre-foreclosure, they're behind on payments. Do you bring those payments current? Kind of what do you do in order to make sure that you're now selling a smooth ship, without that debt still being, for lack of a better term, hanging over the head?
Yeah. So we always bring them current. I mean,
Okay.
that's part of we bring them current, and then we start making the payments on their behalf.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's all done because if we don't bring it current, it's not, it's going to go to auction.
Go to auction and you'll lose it.
Right. So we'll bring it current, postpone it. And, we work things out with people. I've had people the day before the auctions, we've stopped the auction and then we give them a month. We're like, we're flexible. Everything can be solved through communication and negotiation. And, we'll let them stay there for a month and then get their bearings together because they just went through this horrific stress called pre-foreclosure and almost losing their house. And then a lot of time, I pride ourselves. We love to go be above and beyond. We'll find them a new home. We'll help them move, right?
Okay.
Because it's really, when you have that type of credit and your credit's dinged up, no one wants to rent to you. No one wants to sell to you, or, they don't want anything to do. So we have people we deal with here in the Valley that, we know that they'll take these people with
challenge credits. Yeah.
Right. And then, so we'll find them a house we try to get a year, term on it. Either if it's, most of them are leases, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But the money that, if there's enough equity in the house, we'll help them pay their first month's or first year's rent or whatever it is, how much we can do. We want to give them as much as possible. And so that's like the value add, right? Because there's you got the wholesalers that'll give you the
lowest.
money.
Yep.
And then you got fix and flippers. And I'm like, well, I'll buy it subject to. My value add is, hey, I'm going to let you stay in for a little bit, depending on the situation. I'll find you a new place. I'll help you move, right? And then in those instances, there's always a withhold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't move, I'm not going to pay them.
And that's one of the things that I was going to ask you next was about the post-possession, because I know that post-possession, guys, post-possession, like he stated, is they agreed to terms, everything closed at the title company, and Zach is allowing the current homeowner to stay in the property. Well, post-possession can get kind of sticky, if people say, okay, well, no, I'm not going to leave. And then you have to go through the eviction process and everything like that. So that withholding is very smart. So guys, just to clarify, the withholding is, let's just say if Zach said, okay, he'll give them $5,000 to move or go towards their rent, after a month. He'll hold back maybe $3,000 of the $5,000 to ensure that they move out, because some people can say, yeah, thank you for honoring the post-possession. And then when it comes to that 30 days, they don't want to leave,
Right.
So that's smart doing that holdback. So go ahead.
Oh, I have a document that I've created because, every deal I do, it's like there's a new circumstance that comes up, right?
Yep.
So I created a document and I just fill it out. This is the date of the move out. There's a bunch of details, but this is the date that you have to be out. If you're not out, it's this much every day I'm taking out of your withhold. And I want that withhold to be enough to hurt. And I don't want to mean hurt like that way, but not that they're just going to trash the house that's now mine, or now that they're going to stay in it and I have to evict them or go through that process.
Right.
So I make sure it's big enough that it's like the carrot, like, hey, like get out. Or Yeah.
Right. So you want to make sure it's mutually beneficial for both parties, So,
Right.
Hey, I get the property and then this capital, to help you transition to your next place. So
Right.
Tell me about this 30.
Yeah. So this
Okay.
He was showing me, like, he has B.B. King's guitar. He used to play with B.B. King and Aretha Franklin. And he's just, man, he was just, and his high team members reached out to him and they were talking to him and they shared the story. And here's what happened is the guy was on Social Security. Okay. His wife got sick, so he get deposited in. And then his monthly mortgage payment would get pulled from that. Well, what happened is Social Security came in and clawed back some of his money, and he didn't know about it.
Oh, wow.
He didn't know about it. And so his mortgage payment wasn't getting paid. So he was freaking out. He didn't know what to do. He was trying to fix and flip or to wholesale. So
Gotcha.
They had a couple people that were interested, 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Mesa. So it's more like Tempe, Mesa area. And I said, wow, this would be a great short-term rental. I don't really care about the equity. Would you be willing to sell this seller financing? And I made the offer, and there was a bunch of stuff he had to do. He filed bankruptcy to stop the foreclosure.
Okay.
So there was a lot of technical stuff we had to get through, but that's what we love because everyone else runs and we lean in. So the long story short is I got this property. I bought it subject to the existing mortgage. My monthly payment is $1,242, so $1,250. That's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Okay.
MB, HomeAway, VRBO. There's tons of websites.
Tons of them. Yep.
And the general rule of thumb. Now, I want you guys to understand. Arizona is players.
And you know what? And that's what I was gonna say. You're right there on that Tempe Mesa border, so you're right there, and then you have all of the baseball players that come in and out. So it's prime property.
Yeah. So the general rule of thumb with short-term rentals, and there's all these people teaching this out there on the lease arbitrage, where you actually rent it from somebody, then you sublease it.
Then you sublease. Yep.
That's the way to do it without owning it. I actually own the property in this instance, and the rule of thumb is about $800 net per bedroom.
Okay.
So $800 times 4, that's $3,200 a month profit times, I'm just going to take it times 10 for, right, as we fine tune our models and our pricing and our structures. But that's just a quick rule of thumb. So people, I don't care about the equity severely underwater, and you have reserves in these instances.
It was listed on the MLS with the realtor. So did you wait till it falls? You go through the realtor in order to get this done?
We were working with the realtor and him,
Okay.
both of them. because here's the thing, this is a small world, real estate investors. Last thing
Yep.
we do is screw somebody out of a commission, right?
Yep.
So I negotiated, I said, hey, why don't I just pay you this as a leasing fee? You know, so she got some money. I think I paid her $3,000 or $5,000. I don't remember. You know, I didn't want her to be discouraged and think that I was taking the thing from her.
Right. No, I was, and what my intentions was in that question was, because I know you said that it wasn't being rented. So I didn't know if, you know, the listing agreement canceled and then you guys happen to find it and say, okay, well, let me go and talk directly to the seller. But even working with the realtor, I mean, that puts you in a position of strength, because like you said, that realtor wasn't going to get anything because the property wasn't moving, you know, but now you can come to her and say, hey, here's an opportunity. You know, I know you want to be pleasing to your client, first of all, to get his deal done. And then also you can make some money on the back end. So, I mean, that was smart. It was strategic. It was a win-win for everybody. And now you guys have a cash flowing rental right there in Mesa. So now you still hold that one, or did you sell it?
I just sold it a month ago as a turnkey business, right? Because it's technically a business now.
Yep.
And I made some money. So
okay. I can tell by the smile on your face that you made a handsome profit on it, Zach. Okay, sweet, man. All right.
Here's the thing I want to share this. I sold it on contract for deed, which means who I sold it to now has seller financing, right?
Gotcha.
Right. So I kept that mortgage still in place. And I sold it for a premium, and I took some equity on it.
So you still have the original mortgage in place from the primary seller?
Yes.
And it went to you, and now the person that owns the property now is still paying that same mortgage. So no one had to go and refi and get a mortgage. So you're still using the original mortgage.
Yeah, I'm responsible for the original mortgage.
Yep.
And then the person I sold it to on terms pays me, and he's paying me more than I pay the bank.
Mm-hmm. So
right.
Arbitrage, basically, you're in the middle, and the end buyer is paying you more than what that mortgage is for. So you're still cash flowing on that property.
Yes.
Excellent, guys. I hope you were able to follow all of that and you were able to hear all of that. Zach is still cash flowing on a property that he doesn't own. You know, although he is assisting and making sure that note gets paid, he's still getting money from that original note. So hope you guys followed that. So now, Zach, tell me, I need you to introduce to the listeners one, Valley Investment Club, and Velocity Banking. This is two things I need you to help everybody to understand. Let's start out with Velocity Banking, and then we'll kind of talk about Valley Investment Club, when we get ready to wrap up.
Cool. So Velocity Banking is a way to pay off your debt at an accelerated rate. And the reason it works is because it uses lines of credit as opposed to loans. Now we have 16 hours of training on this concept alone, so I can't do it justice, but there's so many things that goes into it, but that's the heartbeat of it is because lines are revolving, meaning you put money in and then you can take it out. So you can go in and out, in and out. A mortgage, you can only put money in, and when you need it, you can't get it back out. You have to refinance, right? So that's why it works. And what you're doing is you're using your property like a savings account. So I spoke with a guy in California. He had $1 million home. He owned like $400,000 on it, and he had $700,000 sitting in a bank account earning nothing.
Wow.
And I said, why don't, and I got to always preface this. I'm not a financial, I don't have a license,
Gotcha.
Speak with a So now you have the liquidity, right? Because the reason people put the money into the bank account is they want the easily accessible liquidity.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So that's the basis of it. And then we also do a lot of things around taxes and just cash flow like moving cash in different ways. But it goes under different names such as mortgage acceleration, sweep strategies. Fortune 500 companies use this method all the time. There's other countries that this is the foundation of their banking system. So in their world, they're like, what's the big deal? We do this every day. But in our world, we're used to loans, structured payment, structured terms, structured everything. So yeah, and here's the thing, I have a lot of videos on this, and people get confused because they think like it's like a recipe, like, oh, I have this, I just need to do this, and then my result will be this. The reality of it is, it's like a deal. It's like a real estate deal. There's so many variables. What's your risk tolerance? What's your goal? Do you want to invest in real estate? Do you not want to invest in real estate? What's your credit like? And so there's, how much cash reserves do you want? Because I used to run really thin on cash reserves, and because I had credit lines. And then I'm like, I ran into a couple pinches where I'm like, oh, I want some cash. So I build up more cash reserves. So, you got to feel it out. And once you understand, once you're educated on it, you get to build it the way that works for you.
Okay. So that's all I needed was, to really introduce this concept to the listeners. They can go out and do their own due diligence, and I'll have in the show notes where we can link to your videos where you're teaching about it and everything like that. I think it's an excellent strategy, for those who, again, want to get out of those loans and use revolving credit, so to speak, in order to kind of accelerate their fire, So tell me, Zach, you're doing quite a few things here in the Valley, man. Introduce us to Valley Investment Club. How are you helping the community with this club?
Yeah, so Valley Investment Club, I think it's the best thing ever, but I'm biased. So it's something that I grew up in a club just like this, a real estate investment group in Chicago. And I was like, it made such a difference. And I used to drive 200 miles round trip for 3 years to be part of this community. And, it's really more of a community than it is a club. And what I mean by that is, these are really the only people I hang around. We have so much resources in there. We have people that have doing this for 35 plus years that are doing over 1,000 deals a year, all the way down to people that have never invested in real estate before, everyone in between. They're doing every type of deal you can think of. And the idea is, if we can work together, we can do way more deals, because we look at it as like there's four currencies. You have time, money, relationships, and knowledge. And there's a lot of people that come into our group with a lot of money, but they don't have any of the other ones. So they leverage that as to get into a deal. There's other people with time but no money, right? So we leverage whatever we don't have inside of the community, and it's just a lot of fun. We do property tours almost every Saturday. We have masterminds every Wednesday. That looks like you actually come down to our office, and it's led by a full-time real estate investor. It's facilitated by a full-time real estate investor, and we just get into it, right? We have an education program where we tell people, hey, watch your education at home, come to our office to the masterminds, and let's do deals. We have a short-term rental mastermind. We have a multifamily mastermind. We have fix and flip wholesaling masterminds. We have distressed notes and REOs mastermind, wealth acceleration, and essentials. Essentials is where everyone starts off with. But It's just a place to go where you can actually learn real estate on a consistent basis, because outside of this, your options really are to go buy books and tapes and things like that, or YouTube and Google, or guru events, right? And I classify guru events as the place you go down, they fly in on a Thursday and they fly out on a Sunday.
Sunday, yep.
40 to 60 grand, and upsell after upsell after upsell, and no one's local, right? They call and they get a 1-800 number and an email, and you're sort of just stuck with that. And I see people like that every day, and it just breaks my heart. So I really feel that we're committed to the people, we're committed to our group, and we want people to do deals. And that's our goal.
Perfect, man. So you have the Valley Investment Club. You're doing deals, independently. what's next? What's next for Zach Oehlman? What are you doing? What are you planning next?
I want to grow our office. I was just meeting with a real estate investor here. I want to grow our office to 500 people that are attending every week. We have the office space to do it. And what I want to do, I want to be the place to go if people want to learn real estate. And then just more cash flow properties. I love fix and flip and wholesale, but I get excited when I get to buy a property and I get monthly checks every week.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the end goal. I mean, even for wholesalers and fix and flippers, yeah, they like the art of the deal and the moving pieces. But at the end of the day, wealth is built by passive income. How can I stay at home, or do whatever I want to do and still live the life that I want to live without going to punch a clock or, going to a 9 to 5. So, man, that's excellent. So you're trying to build this up to 500 members. Where are you guys at right now? I know you said, I think you're around 300. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have about 320 people. We have about 150 people attend our masterminds on a weekly basis, right? Because, here's the thing. This is a commitment, right? This isn't like something that you can come into it and, get rich overnight. So, people fall off, life happens, and then they come back. So yeah, we have about 150 people attending regularly on a Wednesday night. And, we're at the precipice. It took a lot to get here. I remember we started with 10 people in a room that was like 10 by 10. And we just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And a lot of those people that started with us are still with us. And it's just awesome.
That's good, man. That's awesome. So what I want to do next, Zach, I want to roll into our hot seat questions, man. I'm going to put you on a hot seat. I want you to answer these questions as soon as you can, as quick as you can, brother. So starting out, what would you do different?
I would just go for it. I would go find people to talk to and then bring them to somebody experienced and just like sort of ride the wave with them.
Okay. And then what is one thing that you could do to be more productive?
What is one thing I could do to be hire stuff out more? That's something I'm focusing on now. Is I'm focusing on who as opposed to how. Like, who can I hire? Who can do this, as opposed to me trying to learn how to do it.
Gotcha. Okay. So what is your greatest commodity outside of capital?
My knowledge, my community.
Okay. And then what drives your ambition? You're doing a lot, man. What stokes that fire for you?
Helping people. I remember when I first started this, I hated going to work every day. I just hated it. I was so angry. And I remember where I was at then. And now I wake up and I love life and I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want. I still work hard, don't get me wrong. But I know there's so many people out there that are in that same position. I just want to help them.
And that's one of the big misconceptions that some people have, is they think that when you live life on your terms and you don't have to go and punch a clock, that we're not working. Honestly, we kind of work more now than we did for someone else. The difference is that we enjoy working. We enjoy doing what we do. I often tell my wife, she's like, you've been in that office for 13, 14 hours. I'm like, well, this is my hangout. It's almost like my clubhouse, and it's where I want to be, because I'm around great people. We're talking, real estate. We're talking growth and development and things like that. So, yeah. So what do you believe is your greatest challenge? Internal or external? What do you think is your greatest challenge?
I have an internal dialogue, and we all have it as human beings, that tells, I wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, I want to go create this, right? I feel like Superman. And then, that internal dialogue says, well, maybe you shouldn't, maybe you can do it tomorrow, right? And if you're not present to it, it can really hold you back. And that's why I surround myself. I pay for coaches. I have coaches, and they just, hey, Zach, remember, that's the internal dialogue talking, not you. So we just got to become present to, we're capable of anything we want. Just don't hold ourselves back.
Yeah. And that's that negative power of procrastination. We can always put up these blocks. Well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I don't have this. I need that. I need to meet with this person first, and the whole time, you're wasting time, and time is going along. So, all right. So what is the latest business book you've read?
Oh man. I'm really big into ClickFunnels right now.
Okay.
So he's a master marketer. So I'm reading his 2 books on how to market. .com secrets, and I forget the other one, but Russell Brunson.
Russell Brunson. Okay. All right. And then what's the latest real estate book you've read?
Oh man. Latest real estate. I don't read a lot of books on real estate. I listen to a lot of videos and podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, man. Well, that sounds good. So tell me, Zach, wrapping up here, man, how can we reach you? How can we get more information about the Valley Investment Club, about Velocity Banking, about Zach Oehlman? Where can we reach you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, www.valleyinvestmentclub.com. And I'm going to give everyone my private phone number. So it's this phone, right? Please respect it.
Gotcha.
but I think I love talking to people, right? So my cell phone is 219-508-6725. You can look me up on Facebook or Facebook Messenger or whatever. But just shoot me a text and let's hop on a call.
All right. Well, I'm going to make sure I have that information down in the show notes. You still got that Indiana telephone number. So yeah. I'll make sure we plant that in the show notes. And that way you can get more information from Zach. You can find out more information about Valley Investment Club and really get out there and get started in doing some deals. And if you're doing deals, get out there and do more deals. So Zach, I want to appreciate you, man. I want to thank you for coming on. One last thing before we go. What is something that you want to leave with our listeners, man?
Here's just do it. I wanted to invest. I wanted to own my own businesses. I wanted to be where I'm at so bad, and it took me 10 years. I remember when I was 18 years old, I was like, this is what I want. And I went through college. I did all the the stuff I was supposed to. But just go find someone or a group of people that are doing what you want to do, and just show up. I tell people in our office, I say, never miss a meeting. And I used to drive 200 miles round trip for 3 years to be around people that were doing what I do. And eventually you're going to replicate them in your language, in your being, in your doing. And what I've noticed is the people that are showing up to my office on a consistent basis, they get help by the people that are experienced because they show that they're committed. So just stay committed. And another big thing is get focused on what you want. I have a lot of people that come into my office and they say, Zach, I want to make more money. I say, that's great. I pull out some money from my, a dollar bill or two from my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, boom, just accomplished that goal. What's next?
What's next?
And then they look at me and they're like, well, I want more money than that. Well, you didn't define that. So get really define what you want out of your life. And, vision boards, journaling, I do all of it. And that way it just stays in your mind. And then, we create it out in the world from there.
There you go, guys. Take it from Zach. The power of tenacity, focus, and commitment will definitely take you where you want to go. You just have to roll up your sleeves and do the work. It's not a get-rich-quick business or industry. You have to put in the work in order to reap those rewards. So, Zach, I want to appreciate you coming on, talking to the We Love Equity listeners, and we are signing off here. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I picked up some great actionable items, and I'm sure you did as well. If so, let me know. You can always reach me via social media at facebook.com/MRCSMaloney, Twitter at MRCSMaloney, and of course, IG at MRCSMaloney. You can also always reach me via email at mmaloney@equityri.com. Make sure you reach out to our guests as well. You can always find their contact information in the show notes below. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Join the family. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we tell if we're providing you with what you need for your journey. If there's someone you would like for me to interview, or if there's a subject matter you would like for me to cover, please let me know. Finally, if you're looking for additional information about real estate investing, go to equityrealestateblog.com. Also, youtube.com/Marcus Maloney. Until next time, family, always enjoy the journey.